I want to thank you all on behalf of the women of Congress for showing the kind of support you have over the many years. I'm here to say that you did really good work in the election. Everyone has referred to this as the blue wave. I like to refer to it as the pink wave. Yes. And let me tell you why. There were 35 women, Democrats, elected to Congress for the first time. You helped make that happen. And one Republican woman elected to the House of Representatives. And I have a little more to say about that. But of the 35 women who were elected to Congress for the very first time as Democrats, 24 of them, 24, had never run for public office before. That's phenomenal. And I think it has everything to do with the guy that's in the White House and what he said, the Women's March, and don't forget Christine Blasey Ford. What happened in those Kavanaugh hearings absolutely inspired women to come out and make it very clear, we're not taking this anymore. So it's troubling, and it should be troubling for all of us. The number of Republican women serving in the House of Representatives has dropped precipitously from 24 to 15. They now have only 4 members more than they had in 1987. So the Republicans have taken that welcome mat and pulled it out from women in this country who were Republicans. And we're welcoming them into the Democratic Party. I'll just share something that happened today that I think speaks volumes. I served on the Armed Services Committee, and we had an organizational meeting among the Democrats today. 16 new members, freshman members on the House Armed Services Committee. That's the largest number ever. Of those 16, I think at least 10 or 11 of them are women. Wow. Now imagine that. A committee that has historically had very few women serving on it will now have probably 13 or 14 women serving, which will be a huge shift because, as you know, issues around sexual harassment, sexual assault in the military have been issues that I've been very concerned about and were given short shrift for a very long time. I don't think they're going to be given short shrift anymore. So, and the women who are serving are like rock stars. Annapolis grads. They are former CIA agents. They are tough cookies, and they're going to show what it's like to be a woman in Congress with military service behind them. So be very proud of what you've done. These women are extraordinary. We now have half of the women serving as Democrats in Congress are women of color. Our first 2 Native American women serving, our first 2 Muslim women serving, our first women from a number of states that are women of color. I mean, it is an extraordinary time for us in the Congress of the United States and for all of us as women in the United States of America. So I was just asked to say a little something about the book that I just released. It's called Undaunted, and that's what we all are. And it's my memoir. So it talks about my experience in Jonestown 40 years ago when I was shot 5 times and left for dead. But it also talks about a number of other things that happened in my life. It talks about my work in public policy and how women do make a huge difference. Whether it's enforcement of child support or making sure contraceptive was covered as a prescription drug benefit, all the things over the years, women must be at the table. So if you want a book that tells you resilience is something that's in our bones, and we all have it,
Go to Amazon.
I'm more proud to have made history along with Representative Abby Finkenauer in Iowa, sending our first 2 women to the United States House of Representatives. And I could not have done it without your support. And I appreciate those remarks, and I'll tell you what, you win in Iowa by working incredibly hard, but I could not have done it without the support of so many people around my district, around my state, and around the country. So thank you so much for everything that you did, because I said at this campaign's one on hard work and the best supporters out there, and we're going to win, and that's what we did. We beat an incumbent that nobody expected would lose, and that nobody was looking at our race until the last minute. So I'm happy to be here and really grateful for all of your support. Thank you.
Say something. First impressions. We're talking about first impressions.
Well, first impression, and of course it was really nice to see a sitting congressperson say, I can't imagine what you all are going through right now. This is the first time a freshman class has had to come into a government that's been shut down. So when I'm advising others in my freshman class on what a journal vote is, it means that we are getting up and running really quickly to help each other. But I'll tell you what, one of the things I really want to talk about is the great women in our class. And I think we're seeing with the behaviors that we're bringing, we're going to see a lot of changes being made. And that just even starts at a personal level. So when Katie Hill, who is from California and is our class president, decided that we were going to have a 7 o'clock meeting when we were in one of our orientations, and I knew breakfast wasn't ready. My first thing was, Katie, you're going to be hungry. I'm going to get you a banana and a yogurt. She's like, thank you. And that's what women do. We really look out for each other. And we've got great guys too. But I'd say that's one of the first impressions I'm taking away is this sisterhood, brotherhood, as a matter of fact, with a lot of our new freshman members, and the ability to have built relationships so that we can hit the ground running. So that's one big key takeaway. There's certainly more. One of the things that I'm trying to get used to is finding my way back in the maze of tunnels. I told my husband I feel sometimes like, a laboratory mouse or something, that they drop me off, hit the tunnels, find your way, go do all this, we'll pick you up, we'll scoot you off to something, throw you in the tunnels again, and then we'll drop you off at home. And so in between we're getting work done, that's for sure, and doing really good things. But one of my big issues, of course, is trying to make sure I can figure out where I go. I come from Iowa, so cardinal directions is something that I understand very well, north, south, east, and west. But when I get in that tunnel system, I don't know where the heck I am.
So I want to know, you weren't here when I made an introduction of the club. We're a 96-year-old organization. We were created 2 years after women won the vote in the country. We would love for you to join us as a member. Congresswoman Jackie Speier has become a member, and she's promised us that she's going to make sure everybody becomes a member. So you get a national membership, which actually is because you come from a different state. And we would love to have you join us.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Would you like to give a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if there are any questions, the mic is coming around.
Important things that we need to do in Congress, of course, is to keep our country safe and to protect our borders. But we need to do so humanely and with dignity. And we also need to create a pathway to citizenship for our undocumented immigrants. Gets them all, because I have a decade rooting out waste in state government, holding it accountable to spending taxpayer dollars wisely, so they love hearing that out of a Democrat, first and foremost. So I point out the fact that this is a brick and mortar. We want to look at 21st century technology that we know can enhance our security, make sure that we keep drugs from crossing our borders, protect our ports of entry, push back against human trafficking, and I let them know that if those are the things that they want to work on, then there are more cost-effective, better ways to do that than a brick and mortar, which is a sunk cost that's going to require ongoing maintenance. And so that's a message that they seem to, even if they can't get on board around the more ethical aspects of it, they can get around the idea that we're wasting money. And so that's the best message I can say I can give to those Trump supporters, is the fact that I'm out to protect our taxpayer dollars and hold government accountable, and the wall is a waste of money. We're bringing this idea that we're here to support our families and our communities. We know all along that it's been women, and it is women, who make sure that our communities remain strong and vibrant. When I travel rural Iowa, as I did this past weekend, I'm visiting every county every month to make sure people know I'm working for our district. It is truly women. Every meeting I had this past weekend, whether it was meeting with economic development boards in small towns, working with the Warren Cultural Group, who is revitalizing an opera house in small town Iowa and needs maintenance, ongoing maintenance funds, it was women who organized that, and it was women who were in charge of those committees. So what we're bringing is this idea that we've had all along. We're the ones, just like me, who fought for all-day kindergarten in West Des Moines, one of our biggest school districts, We're the ones who make sure our children, who have the least among us, have opportunity for food on their plates. And so that's what we're bringing to the table, this understanding that if we help each other out, that we share our resources, that we commit to involving ourselves in making life better for everyone in our community, then we are all going to live better lives. And that's what I'm committed to make happen.
First of all, thank you so very much for stepping up and for running and for winning.
Thank you.
You are in a room full of passionate activists, all of whom have connections to other houses filled with activists. Can you give us some insight from your perspective, in addition to fundraising, what we can do to make your work as effective as possible so that you win again and again?
Thank you. I very much appreciate that. And that's a great question, because I truly won, and quite honestly, again, because of so many women who became involved and did postcard writing, had events for me around the country, because unfortunately I can't just win with the money that we have in Iowa. And so people who have coordinated events for me, people who are having those postcard writing parties, one great idea, and it might not necessarily be for me, but for others that I heard and we're trying to implement in Iowa, is a group that got together that helps with those odds and ends that women need to make happen for their family as they're running for election. And that people that will bring some dinners over for the week, so that your family, you feel like you're feeding your family well, even when you're not there. That they'll run a few errands if your kids need, let's say, soccer cleats, or in my case that would mean hockey equipment picked up. And so that kind of help goes a long way, especially for people who are now running. But certainly call banks out of different locations. We had people who did call banks across the country for my race. One of the other things that I just so enjoyed and really appreciated, if you have the time, come in and work on a campaign. And I had a woman who is a high-level job with Nike that took a 3-month sabbatical and came in and worked in Iowa, loved it. And boy, let me tell you, if you want to meet some people who are running for president, come to my district, by the way. I'm having a lot of calls. So think about that too, because one of the things I believe that those who became involved with our campaign from around the country got a better understanding of what it's like in the heartland. And I think it's important that all of us understand our country and where we're coming from and what it takes to win in particular areas. And it really means understanding the people that live there. So if you get a chance, we would love to have you. It's so fun to work on campaigns in Iowa. People truly care about this. I mean, we're a place that's used to having presidential candidates in our living rooms. So they'll talk to you. They want to talk with you. And so I'd encourage people to travel anywhere and take that commitment. Do those call banks, do those postcards, certainly line up fundraisers around the country. And there were people who lined up fundraisers for me where I wasn't even there, but they got it. Yeah, exactly. And make that happen.
Can I bring it back to the Midwest? I'm from Minnesota. I went to Wisconsin. I love to hate. So, and I'm a hockey mom as well, mother of 4. So congratulations, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like you to speak for a moment about community and how in the Midwest, what are you planning to do from a regional perspective? What are your priorities? Not obviously in terms of elevating all the things that we just discussed here tonight, but what are your priorities in Congress to affect the Midwest and America?
Thank you. That's a great question. So the question is, what will I be doing in Congress that will really make sure that my community does better and represents what we need in the heartland? And one of the things is thinking about our rural communities. For those of you who aren't aware, we have many parts, not just in my state, but all over the Midwest and lots of this country, where we don't even have access to fiber, so no internet access. We have industries that are reliant on that. Our agriculture industry is heavy technology. And so when our agriculture industry is suffering, and there are people who've had to pay $75,000 to be able to put up their own tower because they can't get connectivity, we've got a problem. Connecting our rural communities to broadband is like the electrification of the day. So that's one of the key things that we need to do. We're seeing a drain on communities in the Midwest, either young people leaving the state and or leaving their small communities and coming to the bigger cities. I live in the Des Moines area, so we're seeing a lot of people coming there, but our rural communities are dying off. So we need to pass an infrastructure bill that addresses not just our roads and bridges, but our water and sewer systems. Right here in my own backyard, we've got pipes that are 100 years old, ripe for failure. Flint is not an anomaly. And we also need to address things like cellular and broadband and housing. There are areas of this country, in particular in the Midwest, where there isn't even housing, let alone affordable housing. So infrastructure is going to be a key issue. And then I would say secondly, and it's what I ran on, healthcare. Making sure that every single person has access to affordable quality healthcare. Of things like expanded Medicaid subsidies to you all here, if we don't continue supporting efforts like that, our regional hospitals in states like mine close, because that's about 20 to 25% of the revenue. We lose that, we lay people off. Once we lay people off, it doesn't just affect those families, it affects the entire community. Because when you're in a rural community, the bulk of the employment is through our healthcare facilities and public sector, like teachers. So if we don't protect those industries, don't protect our rural hospitals, don't protect our education and our public schools, we see rural communities die out. And that is something that would be detrimental to this country. I think it's sometimes not something when we live in cities that we really recognize what's going on in these rural communities, but they're the backbone of this country. And they are the ones who are producing food, they are producing energy. I was ranked #2 in wind energy in the country. I directed the state's energy and environment plan, and almost 40% of our energy comes from there. So and I'm hoping to take that further, create smart grid technology, create a regional opportunity for us to be able to expand and sell that and build that out. So those are the things that we need to look at, healthcare and infrastructure.
Yes, and you have to speak up.
Congresswoman, with the government shutdown cutting off approximately $11 billion in subsidies for farmers that are growing soybeans, how do those farmers who voted for Trump feel about it today?
Let me tell you, the tide's turning. I talked to that's good. Just last Thursday, I spoke with a farmer. His name is Phil. He's married. He has 4 children. He's a 5th-generation farmer. He lives in Adair County. 2014, we were hit hard with a hailstorm there. We're seeing extreme droughts and floods in Iowa as a result of climate change, which is affecting our farmers' yields. So he was hit hard with that. He owns 1,500 acres, and he lost 1,000 of those. And so he never really recovered from that. Then the trade war came along. And so he's lost opportunity there. And now the real crux is happening right now as the USDA isn't open, the FSA offices are closed. Right now, he has $50,000 in checks sitting on his dresser drawer. Those are to pay off his operating loans from last year. Our farmers take out operating loans on an annual basis, and that allows them to purchase their seed, their fertilizer, things that they need. So you cannot open up a new operating loan until you've closed your old one. The FSA isn't open, they can't stamp those checks, he can't deposit them. So he's incurring interest now on that, but the bigger thing is you can't open up your new loan. If you open that up early enough, by the 15th of January, you can take advantage of a 10% discount on those supplies I talked to you about, seed, fertilizer, which cost a lot of money. He's now losing thousands of dollars there. He's losing it on the front end and the back end. And here's where it gets really bad. He said to me, not only does he think he's going to have to sell the farm and 5 generations is going to be gone, and we will cede one more small to mid-sized farm to large corporate farms. So that's an issue. But I had to talk to him about how important he was to his family because he's having very difficult mental health issues right now. So as a freshman, I'm talking to a father who has a newborn and then children ranging up to 12 years old who is really so down on and does not understand how he's going to support his family, and he can't take any more hits. And he doesn't live close enough to a bigger city to get a job. And his stress is so impactful that it's creating mental health issues for him. That's where we're at. It's truly where we're at in this country. I'll be marching in Iowa. I'll ask them to come along. That's a great idea. That's right.
Yes. One last question.
Hello, my name is Susan, and I just wanted to congratulate you. I'm actually from Bettendorf, Iowa.
Oh, all right.
And I just happened to be here in DC. And so I know that me and my whopping 5 friends that are in Bettendorf that happen to be Democrats would like to know how we can further support you going forward. We'd like to be activists to keep your campaign running, basically. Thank you. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, thank you. So, Iowa in the house here, beautiful, beautiful part of the state. And so she asked what she can do, the Democrats that aren't in my district but are in Iowa and want to support me and Abby Finkenauer and others to keep us in office. You know, have events for us. And by the way, I forgot to mention social media, folks. Get on our representative pages, Twitter, Instagram, everything. Please follow me, because the more we can have outreach across this country, it just continues to spread our message as we put on live video feeds, as we document what we're going through, keeping people informed and letting them see the transparency of this office can help people I feel more involved and want to support us. So the more you can do with that, I greatly appreciate it. Certainly just some of the other things I mentioned, hold events for us. And specifically focused on topics that women might be interested in. I won in my district because suburban women decided they'd had enough. And so we need to make sure that we're engaging women in the conversations. And those are women who I've talked with in the past that said, when I asked them why they voted 10 years ago, said you need to talk to my husband. Now they're voting for a woman. So, yeah. So to get more women engaged, because we're the ones who talk, we're the ones who encourage others to go out and do the right thing. And we're the ones who do, that's right, absolutely.
It is really exciting to be here. And first, just thank you to all of you. When we all won these elections, and wow, was this a year. It is really because groups like you came together, people all across the country stood up and said, we're ready for change and we want these women. And on election night, well, let me lead up to it. Let me first tell you who I am. I'm a pediatrician and a wife and a mom of a 10-year-old. And I never in a million years thought I would run for office, and now here I am, a member of Congress for Washington State. Democrat in this seat as you might imagine, fairly blue, over the Cascade Mountains into agriculture territory, so apple farms and cherry farms. And we have, I would say, the most beautiful district in the country, including Lake Chelan, Mount Rainier, and the Alpine Wilderness. So I feel very blessed to represent such a beautiful area. I got into this race. Remember, I'm a pediatrician. It's not an easy job to leave, but I got into it in the wake of the 2016 election. And I, like so many of you, I'm looking at all these pussy hats around here, was activated by that and then emboldened by the Women's March. And I did what a lot of you did. I marched and I rallied and I met with my congressman. And then when that first Trump care bill was introduced, the one that would have defunded Planned Parenthood, would have taken away protections for people with pre-existing conditions, I went and met with my congressman's office and explained as a doctor how that would be so harmful for my patients and for people all over the district. And days later, he voted for it in committee. And for me, that was just the last straw. And so I decided to run against him. A month after I entered, he announced his retirement. It still was an open seat, a big, fierce battle. And I remember thinking, as we got towards the end and the polling was neck and neck, and I just found out the other day, I would thank you that so many people supported me, even though they didn't think I had a chance in hell of winning. They get special thanks. That my big fear was that on election night, we would find out that we had flipped 22 seats. And because we vote by mail in Washington state, that it would take weeks to find out what happened. And that all of a sudden the whole country will be going, okay, what's going on with Schrier of Washington? But on election night, to have found out my results after we had already won back the House was one of the most exhilarating and reassuring moments. Sometimes people ask why a pediatrician, and I'll just say a couple words and then I'll take your questions. And I believe that it's really a lot about the lens that I see this world through. So I look at it through the eyes of somebody who's really looking at the next generation every day. And that informs my decisions about healthcare, along with the fact that I have type 1 diabetes, and that informs my decisions about healthcare and what we need to do for patients. But it informs how I think about how we take care of our planet, what we leave for the next generation, and what we do in terms of education, understanding that if we could get every child starting kindergarten ready for kindergarten, we would do a whole lot of good for generations to come. And so these are the issues that I will be working on. I'm passionate about working on it. I'm excited to be doing this with so many other women because the data suggests that women do this very well. We sponsor twice as many bills, we pass twice as many, we bring more money home for our districts, and I am so delighted to be in this very women-rich class.
So what I wanted to tell you, and they've all heard this, we are a 96-year-old organization. We've been working on policy and politics all this time, and we work really hard every day for 2 months on over 50 races for the midterms, working on women's races, and we are delighted that so many of you made it. So thank you. Thank you.
I would love to take questions. I'm also very mindful of that there are a lot of women and not a lot of time, so have at it.
So we have a question here.
Hi. A lot of us activists are from DC without representation in Congress. Have you signed on to the statehood bill?
But I believe you should have representation. So I will look forward tomorrow. Thank you. Erin O'Quinn is my chief of staff. She would be your direct contact.
So we have a question here.
Congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you.
I'd like to have your thoughts on what happened, I guess, today with Speaker Pelosi. I thought it was a very strategic move in the letter that she sent to Mr. Trump on not having the State of the Union. Do you have any thoughts?
Believe it or not, I think that was still today. It's just been a very long day. a standstill, and we're just kind of waiting each other out, and the country's getting frustrated, we're getting frustrated, people are flirting, and we gotta get people paid. She pulls this ace out of her sleeve, and I was so darn impressed. Do you all share my opinion?
Thank you. I think I've got the mic close enough. I am a federal employee. I've been furloughed for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. My husband is also a federal employee. He is working every day. We don't want a wall. Any words of wisdom or advice? We don't support the wall, but we also really want to go back to work.
We are getting letters on a daily basis and phone calls on a daily basis. So first, let me just say I am really sorry, and especially when you have 2 federal workers in the same home. And of all things, federal workers should be able to depend on their employer. So let me just first convey that sentiment. This is really tough, and I would say it is particularly difficult because we compassionate, especially women Democrats, hear these stories and it squeezes at our hearts and tears at our hearts. And yet we are trying to negotiate with the other side of the aisle that does not seem to feel that same compassion or care, and that makes negotiations very difficult. We have every single day passed a bill, either an omnibus bill or piecemeal bills, and sent them on to the Senate to get them passed to fund our government, to get you back to work, and to get back pay, everything we can do to work for the benefit of the American people. And Mitch McConnell is not standing up. He seems to not understand.
Make him stand up.
Okay, so yesterday, the freshmen got together and we went to the steps of the Senate, and we held a press conference, and we had a letter for him, and we said, look, we are co-equal branches of government here. Do your job. And I understand that there are cracks, that there are moderate Republicans who are putting pressure on him, and I just don't know where that breaking point is. But I do know, and I'm so sorry for the pain that this is inflicting across the country, is that if we, quote, give in, I'm a pediatrician, I know what a temper tantrum is, and that's what this is. And if you give in once, you are doomed for the rest of your life, right? So we're working, and we're staying next week, and we will be here trying to get government open.
I'd like to get your views as a physician and a member of Congress as what are your personal priorities in trying to correct healthcare issues such in this country?
My personal priorities. Okay, my overarching priority is I want every person in this country to be able to afford the care they need, and I don't want any families to go bankrupt because of medical care. And I believe there are many ways to get there. I have one that I have proposed, which is having a public option that is Medicare that people can buy into on a sliding scale, that puts pressure on insurance companies to improve efficiencies and bring costs down. It provides people with care that they can afford, and for people who can't afford anything, there would be subsidies. So that is what I have presented in terms of how we get people covered. I would also love to tackle the cost of prescription drugs because we're all feeling it, and I can tell you that the bottle of insulin that I use, which by the way is 2 teaspoons of medication, 10 years ago it cost $40, and now it costs $260. Right. And I have insurance, so I don't feel that. But you know who does? The underinsured, the uninsured, the people with high deductibles who can least afford to pay it. And this is quickly becoming a deadly predicament. So what I would say about affordability is my mind is open. I have my ideas, but I am ready to sit down and get to work because so many of my colleagues share this same goal. And how we get there? Well, we women sit down and we collaborate and we get it done.
Hi. have a question. I have a thought about.
I can't find you.
Oh, here I am. I have a thought about solving the shutdown issue, and that involves overriding a veto. And I think if McConnell could feel certain that the House would join the Senate in overriding the veto, he would go forward with it. I mean, they already had a unanimous vote in the Senate in the last Congress to fund the government. And so I think maybe they could find the votes to override, but how about the House? What can be done to get the House enough votes to override a veto?
I have been wondering the same thing you're wondering. I mean, I've been thinking of it as, you know, the win here will be for our president to feel like he's saved face, and for Mitch McConnell to feel like he's saved face. And that may mean that behind the scenes, Mitch McConnell is counting his votes, and if he can get to 67, then he will have a veto-proof majority. Our president will get to have a tantrum and veto and do all the things that will make the base really happy. And Mitch McConnell will look like a hero for opening government, and I'm totally okay with whoever takes the credit for it as long as we get government by vote. And if that happens, I know that we can get colleagues in the House to get a veto-proof majority as well.